Massive have taken the very courageous step to delay their next expansion and focus on fixing the core game, except it's not just fixing, it's actually rebuilding a lot of it from the ground up. They laid out a bit of a roadmap for what that's going to look like, and in this video I want to talk through that roadmap so you know what to expect and when to expect it. Stick around. So just before the state of the game, I actually was having a conversation with Arix, and Arix is asking me like, so what do you think they're going to talk about in the state of the game? And I was like, I just hope that they like pause the development of any future DLC and they just commit to fixing the game. I didn't think it would happen because I thought they had contractual requirements to get certain DLC out on time. But you know what? That's exactly what they are doing. They are delaying the survival update, which was originally scheduled for sometime in September, October. They're pushing that back now to later in the year, and they're committing patch 1.4 to be a free standalone patch available to everyone that is essentially going to not only fix the game, but actually rebuild many of the core game systems. Now, I want to be really clear on what this is. This is not Massive looking at the top 10 list of issues that I put up on the, on my video, for instance, or any other list that they've seen anywhere else, and just thinking, what's the 10 quickest things that we can do to fix these problems? They're not just dropping enemy health by, 20%. They're not just adding a PvE dark zone because that's what everyone's asking for. They're not just, changing weighted drops so you get all loot everywhere. They are going back to the drawing board on a number of key design decisions, and they are re-examining the core gameplay systems that hold the game together with an eye to basically sort of rebuilding the game from the ground up. Yes, it will have the same game engine. Yes, it's going to look and feel very much the same, but all of the systems that sit on top of the game engine are going to be vastly different in terms of what they've described to us, which is a very, very ambitious step. But to be honest with you, it really is a required step at this point. I'm not going to talk about all of the challenges currently facing the division, but they are many. And as I've said, the bones of this game are awesome. And if Massive are able to fix up all of the stuff around those bones and build a really fantastic endgame experience and loot meta and PvP experience, then that is just awesome. And I'm certainly willing to wait for that. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, holy shit, this is terrible. It's a delay of new content. There's already nothing to do right now. Rip the division. Battlefield 1 is coming. Battlefield 1 is coming. Battlefield 1 is coming. Yes, absolutely. Battlefield 1 is coming in October. Massive guys, they have a calendar as well. They know this, right? This is not about creating a game that's going to compete with Battlefield 1 in October. This is about Massive looking at their game and thinking, we need to fix this for the long term. We need this to be a game that can be around for the next decade. And if we're going to do that, we seriously need to re-examine our core game systems. Massive isn't thinking about how they're going to drive engagement in the month of October and November. They're thinking about how they're going to be driving engagement over the next decade with the division. You know what I mean? So all this talk about this is already too late. Absolutely. For many people, this will be too late for them and they will have decided to move on. And to be honest, that's perfectly within their right to do so because this has been a shitty experience to date. There's no question about that, right? But for those of us that are still invested in this game and still think that the premise of it is awesome, having to wait a little bit longer, when I say a little bit, yeah, it's 2 months, it's a while, right? Having to wait longer for a fully functional game that delivers on the potential of what this game could be is well and truly worth it. I think the example of Destiny is highly instructive in this example, right? Look at Vanilla Destiny versus the Taken King. Vanilla Destiny was not a great experience by many metrics. I still loved it, no question, right? But objectively speaking, there was a lot that was not worth loving in that experience. But, Bungie worked hard and they released The Taken King, and it was a completely different experience by so many levels. It was one of the most well-received pieces of DLC in the history of DLC, really, across any game. It was just fantastic. And I really think that Massive are sort of trying to set the bar somewhere there for themselves. They're looking at how can we fundamentally change the game so that people have that sort of, about-face moment when they log in and they really feel like, wow, yeah, cool. This is different. This is what it should have been. This is finally living up to the potential that we've hoped for. And as I said, I don't mind waiting for that. So let's get into some of the detail about this so you know what's being fixed and when it's being fixed, because, Massive have sort of communicated a bit of a roadmap, but I don't think they've really done a good job of it. it. So I've kind of put that into a diagram that I think kind of tells the story, and I'm going to talk you through that now so you know what to expect. So first of all, let's talk about core principles, right? On the website, Massive have actually got an article up that says these are the 7 things that they are going to be focusing on when they talk about fixing their game. So number 1 is bug fixing. They've said that it's unacceptable the number of bugs that are in the game, and they're going to make it their top priority to get the game as bug-free as possible when the 1.4 update releases. Number 2 is making loot drops more relevant. So this has to do with the loot meta, right? So this isn't about gear sets, that comes later. This is about saying, when I do an activity, how many items will I get? What are the general sorts of stats that are going to be on those items? How much impact is that likely to have on my character in terms of the impact or the way that character will make me feel after that's done? You know, like, why is it that why aren't high-end items able to go up to 268 gear score? Those sorts of fundamental questions about what is gear, how do I get it, what is my character's relationship to it? Those are the questions that they're going to be looking at when they look at making loot drops more relevant. Number 3, enemy difficulty and time to kill. The point has been made many times. Enemies are too bullet spongy and they deal way too much damage. You can absolutely expect changes here, but don't expect just like 20% less health or they deal 20% less damage. Massive have talked about a far more fundamental rethinking about what does difficulty mean in the Division. It can't just be about more health. Like, let's think about things like AI behavior. Let's think about things like the number of enemies. Let's think about how encounters are constructed in terms of, you know, the kind of mechanics that might go into those. All of those sorts of things are on the table when they think of enemy difficulty and time to kill. Number 4 is gear sets and weapon balancing. So gear sets, obviously, some of them crazy overpowered, like Reclaimer in PvP, terrible. Sentry in PvE and PvP, way overpowered. And then you look at the other end of the spectrum, Blind and Firecrest and Nomad and Final Measure and all these terrible gear sets that we would never think of using, right? That should not be the case. There should be a more balanced set of gear sets. So that's something they've committed to. And on weapon balancing, I kind of think we shouldn't expect too much from this. Weapon balancing is actually in a pretty good place, I think, with the exception of the M870 shotgun. So I expect only very minor tweaks here. But hey, who knows? I could be wrong. It could be anything. Number 5 is solo player experience. Very clear right now that the solo player experience is awful. There is no meaningful way for someone to progress their character while playing this game solo. It just doesn't exist right now, and they are looking to revitalize that in the future. Number 6 is Dark Zone and PvP balancing. There are a million challenges with the Dark Zone right now. Many people don't like the fact that PvE-focused players are colliding with PvP-focused players in very unpleasant encounters. People do not enjoy the moment-to-moment combat of PvP with all of its rolling around and its tapping of smart cover and its, you know, shock turrets, and it's all that cheesy stuff that we've come to expect when we PvP. All of that is on the table. And finally, quality of life improvements. Things like having your weapon skins in your cosmetics menu instead of in your inventory space. Or things like maybe gear loadouts, so you can quickly switch between gear sets and actually remember which piece of gear goes with what, because I, for one, can't remember. I literally have to write it down half the time on a piece of paper, for God's sake. So those sorts of things would be really nice as well. So those are the 7 principles that Massive have committed to here. They're the things that they've said, these are the things we're going to focus on when we look to fix our game. So for the community, I think for us, it's sort of about, cool, we can make all sorts of suggestions we like, but you know, they kind of need to be funneled into these. Unless it's one of these 7 things, Massive are probably not going to be prioritizing it because they've said to us, these are the things we need to fix. So I think as a community, we need to sort of provide suggestions that go towards these 7 items. And just for the record, I think these are the right 7 items, absolutely. And I've said as much in different videos. This pretty much covers off, you know, everything that I listed in my top 10 community challenges video that I did earlier. I think Massive absolutely are looking at the right challenges. So that's really encouraging to see. Now, in terms of how this is delivered, you know, the timeline for this is I've broken that down below. So first of all, there's already a known issues forum on the official forums where you can talk about bugs. Massive are always working with that and they'll continue to do so. So that's fine. That's unchanged. Number 2 is a top 10 bugs list that is going to be voted. Massive are about to kick off an initiative. It asks you to list your top 10 most frustrating bugs, and Massive are then going to sort of force rank those, and they're going to become their priority going forward. They're going to commit to fixing at least those top 10 bugs by patch 1.4, but they said there will be many other bug fixes as well. And down the bottom there, you see additional surveys and discussions. So the point here is to say that, there's going to be more stuff, more surveys going out, more discussions held on the forums. There's going to be a conversation that's going to take place in the next little while. It's going to kick off very soon, and it's going to continue right up until the release of patch 1.4, and of course beyond that. But they did say that we can expect to have our voice heard in a variety of ways, and they'll provide more information on that very soon. Now, in September, there is a community summit in Malmo. So what's this? Basically, they're going to get a whole bunch of people from the community, and they're going to talk about improvements to the game. That's going to be one-on-one time with the development team, to talk through ideas. It's going to be talking amongst, the community talking amongst itself. It's just going to be just a big chance for everyone to get in a room and talk about the biggest issues. Now, this is not just for YouTubers. It is not just for Twitch players, Twitch streamers. It's for everyone. You actually can go to Massive's website very soon. I'll post a link in the description when the link is live, but you can actually apply for this. And Massive will fly you to Sweden, all expenses paid, and you will be able to participate in this discussion. So even if you are just some guy or girl playing the Division from your living room and you want to go to Sweden, you've got the chance to do that. Put forward the application. That could happen. They did say that they would also be inviting some members from the community. So yes, you can definitely expect some YouTubers and Twitch streamers or whatever. Massive have not spoken to me about this. I don't know anything about it. The very first time I heard about it was in the State of the Game. So, if anyone's asking if I'm going, I don't know if I'm going. But look, it doesn't matter if I'm going or not. The point is that this conversation is happening. The fact that everyone is getting into a room and the community are having face-to-face time with the developers talking about this sort of stuff is awesome. And I have full faith that Massive are going to choose a great crew of people, and whoever's in that crew, I wish them all the best. I just think it's a great initiative that I cannot sort of speak more highly of. All right, so in October, patch 1.4 hits, and it has a focus on core gameplay mechanics and systems. So it's sort of like a rebalancing pass. Now, I'm going to call this, and this might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I'm going to call this like the PvE focused patch, okay? Why do I say this? I say this because the website indicated that this patch will lay the foundations for improvements to the Dark Zone and to PvP more broadly. And even Yannick said something similar to that, where they will come back later on and do a pass on PvP and DZs. And that's not to say we won't get any changes to PvP or DZ. Obviously, if you change the PvE experience, like enemy health or whatever, there are NPCs in the DZ, that's going to change the DZ experience automatically. I just got a very clear impression that this patch is going to be focused on, what we looked at above, fixing bugs, loot drops more relevant, enemy difficulty, gear sets and weapon balance, solo player experience, etc. Right? It's going to focus on that first, and then later on there will be an update that focuses on PvP and the DZ. It's not clear when that update will happen. Patch 1.4 is definitely going to be in October. That's what they've said. They've not said when this other PvP/DZ focus update is going to occur, so we'll have to wait and see. We do know that the survival DLC is happening in sort of this calendar year, and I'm going to guess it's going to happen sometime in November. If it's not happening in October, because that's when 1.4 hits, I don't think it's going to happen in December, because most stuff, very little stuff in the games world gets released in December. I think it's probably going to be in November. Now, that is going to be DLC that is released in November for Xbox and PC. It's going to be 1 month later for everybody else. So it's probably going to be December for PS4 peeps, which obviously sucks. We know that. We've had that discussion before, but hey, that's just the way it is. And finally, Last Stand DLC is going to be, during early 2017. And that is the same release date for all three platforms, PC, Xbox, and PS4. So they did say that Last Stand was pushed back. I think there was initially a plan to release it this year, so that now has been pushed to early 2017. That's fine. Plenty of time for us to sink our teeth into survival and hopefully enjoy the revised game. So now down the bottom, I've got further balancing and system improvements. And what I mean by this is that obviously patch 1.4 is going to hit in October, but you can absolutely expect that this is not going to be the only time where they make, balance changes. They're always going to be making further balance changes. But, patch 1.4 is really the start of it. So this is a really important point though, for this reason. And I want to be super clear on this. Do not expect that the Division is going to get fixed between now and October. They've made super clear that this is not going to happen. It's just going to stay the way it is between now and October. They'd like to be able to fix everything, or at least have, a big swing at things all at once in October, rather than trying to fix things one by one. Now, I thought a lot about this. Originally, I was like, yeah, cool, fair enough. Now I'm sort of a different opinion. I think that there's one thing that they could do right now to actually breathe a hell of a lot more life into the game, make things a lot easier for people, and that is actually just adjust down enemy health immediately or the amount of damage that they deal. It doesn't matter that we'll be able to cruise through content like it's easy mode. It doesn't matter that, you know, we'll just get heaps of gear and whatever. It doesn't matter. At least for the next 2 months, we're going to be able to play the game, because otherwise the game will pretty much just be collecting dust for a lot of people. I think this is a small change in the context of the overall sort of game meta. Enemy health and damage, you know, surely there's complex code associated with all of it, but surely it's a worthwhile goal just to quickly readjust that down so that we can start moving through content quickly and easily. That is my call here. I would much rather see that happens right now, rather than us just sitting around for 2 months with an unplayable game on our hands while we wait for everything to get fixed. So that's obviously just my perspective on this. Everyone's going to have their own. Massive, absolutely going to have their own, but that is my suggestion here. I would like to see this big drop of content in October, patch 1.4, rebuilding core game systems. But between now and then, let's just take enemy health down, let's take enemy damage down, and let's just let everybody breeze through the content nice and relaxed, nice and chill. Let us get some gear, let us have some fun, and then 1.4 hits, and we can you know, and go into a refreshed experience then. So anyway, that's just my one little bit on that, but that's the overall roadmap as I see it, right? That's how I'm seeing this thing breaking down. Again, you know, Yannick and Hamish, please correct me if I'm wrong on this in terms of this visual that I've developed, but I think this is pretty right, and I think that we can sort of look at this and sort of know what we're getting and when we're getting it. And I think, you know, at a very high level, I fully endorse this view. You know, it's really courageous for a developer to sort of say, you know what, we're going to fix our game. You know, Bungie's another great example. They never really had this kind of conversation with us in vanilla and say, yep, cool, our game is not hitting the mark. Let's talk collaboratively about how we fix it. It was really much just like, this is what it is, guys. Oh, by the way, here's the Taken King at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It wasn't that sort of collaborative experience that we're going through here now. I really respect this. I really value this. I like this roadmap. Yes, it sucks that we will lose a lot of players between now and then, no question, right? But don't think in terms of like, oh, we need to win October and November and Battlefield is coming. Just think like, we need this game to be playable for a long, long time to come. And I really think these steps they're taking now are the right steps to get us there. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. If you found this video useful, do drop it a like. And if you are excited about this and you're interested in sticking around for The Division, then be sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But yeah, other than that, guys, take good care, and I will see you in the Dark Zone or not, or whatever, or wherever. It doesn't matter, but I'll see you soon. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.